All right, what's up, guys? We're back with another podcast episode. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. We had, well, at least I had quite an interesting drive back from Kansas. Honestly, the drive was fine. I got to tell a quick story. Before we even get into what this pod's about, I got a story. Okay, every single year in Minnesota, and I'm sure this happens in every region that gets snow, it's like on the first snowfall, everyone forgets what snow is. Everyone's like, you know what? We can drive the exact same way. Ice on the road doesn't matter. I'm going to go 80 miles an hour. The way down to Kansas was the first snowfall the night before. The amount of semi-trucks flipped in the ditch, jackknifed, cars in the ditch, I lost count. On the way back up, we saw minimum 30-plus cars piled up in the ditch, including semi-trucks. And I'm like, guys, it's not even snowing right now. It's not windy. The roads are fine. How are we, like, okay, let me rephrase. Fine if you don't drive like a moron, which is 10 miles over the speed limit when the roads are icy.
It is actually mind-blowing to me that we've all lived through this. We've all driven through this, and midwinter, we get a blizzard. I mean, there'll be a few accidents, but it's fine. But the first one, 600 accidents. Like, guys, what are you doing?
This makes no sense. I literally could not believe how many car accidents we saw on the way home. You would go a 10-second span drive, and I'd be like, boom, there's a car in the ditch. There's a car in the ditch. Like, there was a 4-car pileup at one point. And
then there's always the one guy with a lifted truck that flies by you at 80 miles an hour.
Oh, no, the amount of... I'm going to try not to offend our pickup truck audience out there, but I'm just saying.
If you live in the Midwest and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'll never understand. I'm like, God, and then they'll be in the ditch.
Real quick, random story. Probably 4 years ago, maybe further back. I'm driving home. I have like a 2-hour drive home. It's the same thing. We're going 30 miles an hour on 35W. And this guy in a lime green lifted pickup truck literally flies by everyone like inches away from their car. Because like you can't even really see the lanes. And I'm just like, this idiot. And then not even 2 miles down the road, he has launched himself through the ditch, up a little hill, and into a tree. And I was just like, look, I hope you're okay. But honestly, you deserve it.
Every time, dude. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it. I don't know why. Pickup truck drivers just think they're invincible.
I know.
I'm like,
it's crazy.
I'm going to stop now before I offend more people. But man, I'm telling you, dude, I just could not believe that drive. Whatever.
This is the time of year where I'm like, why do we live here again?
Yeah,
I genuinely don't know.
I agree.
I know everyone says like, oh, you live in the wrong state. I'm well aware. I hate the snow so much. It actually just makes me so angry. When the first day I saw snow falling and I instantly saw like a few inches on the ground, I was livid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why we live here, who knows?
Who knows, dude?
But all right, guys, this week, this pod's going to be pretty simple. Since it was Thanksgiving, I hit a few paddles here and there, but there wasn't a ton that happened. So we have a few quick news updates, nothing too crazy. And then most of this pod is just going to be Q&A from last week. We didn't get to do the Q&A because I forgot I had to go play pickleball in the middle of the pod. And so we have a ton of questions, which will probably carry us quite a bit.
It's really funny. There's something that you usually say at the beginning of a pod like this that you haven't said yet.
I'm not going to say it. I told myself I wouldn't say it this week, and I'm not going to say it.
That's funny.
But first, the question of the week. I want to know what you guys snagged for Black Friday. It doesn't even have to be pickleball related. But, if you found a great pickleball deal, let me know what you found. There were definitely a lot of really great pickleball deals. One in particular I saw yesterday, and I don't know if it'll still be going today, hopefully when this goes up. But on Pickleball Central, you could get the lifetime ball for 15% off.
I saw you posted that.
So you could get a 100-pack for $199, which is a pretty great deal.
Good deal.
That's definitely a good deal. So let me know what you snagged. Even if it's not a pickleball item, let me know. I snagged like a couple random things here and there, mostly things I needed for work.
I used to be more into buying stuff on Black Friday / Cyber Monday, but now it just doesn't even really feel like it's a very good deal anymore, like on almost anything.
It really just depends where you go. I mean, there's
some places are very good.
Very few places where you get like an exceptionally good deal. It's like, okay, I got an okay.
I saw a really funny video of these people shopping around in a store. I think it was a Walmart. And the sign said, it was like a TV or something, and it said was 445, now 465, and it's like, wait a second, your math is a little backwards here. This is going the opposite direction.
Oh man! All right, I have two little updates I just want to talk about before we get into this podcast episode.
You're a psychopath. That's all I have to say.
I was in Kansas. My in-laws live in Kansas. We go there every year for Thanksgiving. And first, I've been in a step competition with one of our buddies this month. He just out of the blue. I never even known this guy to be a big step guy. Just randomly, he was like, "Hey, here's an app. You're going to download it, and we're going to compare steps at the end of the month."
We have like a little club now between the three of us and his like girlfriend. I don't really try and participate in it because I don't wear my Apple Watch much anymore, so it doesn't track my steps accurately. And then you two are just absolute lunatics. Like I am an incredibly competitive person when it comes to just about anything else other than walking. So yeah.
Here's what you guys got to know. First, you've probably heard I've been doing a lot of walking this year because of my back. My back has been great now throughout this whole Chasing 5-0 series. Literally no issues. Like it's been amazing. This is the first time in 2 years that I felt this good, and it's awesome. Like I can play pickleball freely now. It's awesome. So I'm still staying on top of my walking because I don't want to go back to that. So once he put out the step competition, I was like, bring it on, dude. I was like, I don't know you for running or walking. I'm going to smoke you. So I kept joking. I was like, dude, I'd get ahead of him. I'm like 20,000 step lead, which is a pretty substantial lead in step count. And then I got sick before our tournament this month, and across like 3 days I got like 3,000 steps, so it was terrible. And then he caught way back up, and I was like, okay, whatever, we're like even. It'll be fine. Then I kind of forgot I was going to Kansas, and it was going to be a lot harder to get my steps there because obviously we're hanging out with family, and I don't have my walking pad, all that stuff. So long story short, he gets 20,000 steps ahead of me. And I was like, okay, fine, we're gonna play that game. I was like, I'll show you how crazy I am. I was like, I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna run. I don't run unless it's for pickleball, okay? The last time I truly ran was 6 years ago when I was gonna train for a marathon, and then COVID happened.
Yep.
So I go to the gym. I start running, and hit 3 miles. I'm like, okay, cool. We got some steps. Hit 5 miles. I'm like, oh, okay, we're kind of going. And then I hit 7 miles, and I was like, I haven't ran this far in forever. I was like, at 7 miles, why don't I just do a half marathon? And so I ran a half marathon. I have never trained for a half. Well, that's not true. 6 years ago, I trained for a marathon. Since then, I have not. So I ran a half marathon.
Zero training.
No training.
Actually, what was the time? Did you have a time?
Yes, it was like 2:26.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's okay. Definitely could have been better. Some of that was like walking in there, like I'd take a little break and walk. And then once I realized
but for zero training?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to complain. But it's not like a particularly impressive time.
Yeah.
Any runner out there is going to be like, yeah, Chris, that kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I accidentally ran a half marathon to then get the lead for step count. I think at that point I was up like 10,000 steps. I'm feeling pretty good. Let me tell you how psycho my friend is.
The level of insanity.
And look, I know most of you out there, you probably don't care right now. But I have to tell this story because this guy is just nuts. He, on that same day, he walked 10 hours indoors at his house around his kitchen counter barefoot. He literally circled this thing for 10 hours to get ahead of me. That guy, I walked like 34,000 steps. He walked 32,000, and then he ended up gaining the lead again. When I woke up the next morning and saw that and he sent it to me, I literally couldn't believe it. I was like, I am so competitive. I will be competitive over stupid things. I literally ran a half marathon just to prove I could get more steps when there's no prize on the line. This man took it to a whole other level. And then the next day, okay, I'm like, okay, you know what? We're still pretty close. I could maybe still do this. That very next day, the dude walks a marathon. I was like, I quit, dude. I quit. I was like, I don't have time to walk a marathon right now.
Walking circles around a kitchen counter for 10 hours. Then walking you basically just walked 2 marathons.
It's probably like a marathon and a half, marathon and a half is probably about what it was. But insane. I just was like, dude, I quit. Take it. I don't want it anymore. So yeah. I thought my running a half marathon out of the blue was impressive, and then he goes and does that. Just
psychotic.
Yeah, insane. I'm sure he'll get a kick out of hearing this. Okay, next up, I just wanted to say the Friday pickleball people, they live in Kansas, so the last couple times I've been out there, I always try and meet up with them just because they're super fun to hang out with. And I just think it's so funny. I remember like a year and a half ago, probably roughly when they started doing their PPA videos, maybe 2 years ago now. And, you know, all these people, like, all the comments were like, dude, these guys suck. They're not even 3.5, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? Back then, they're probably about 4.0s, right? Somewhere in that ballpark. They have gotten so good at pickleball. Like, they've
always, like, Scott and TJ have always been really good.
Yeah, that's kind of always been the thing on the channel is, like, Scott and TJ, they're the, like,
but
better players.
The main two, well, I guess Scott's a main guy, but, like,
Jake and
Isaac, the main two guys, have always been a bit lower.
Yeah. And playing with them, dude, people got to put some respect on their name.
Isaac got really good really fast.
Dude, it's
funny
crazy.
when we met them out in Palm Springs, right? That where we were?
Yeah.
Palm Springs. When we met them out there, they were always saying, they're like, oh yeah, you know, Isaac probably has the most potential out of all of us. Like he probably has the highest skill ceiling. And I remember hearing that, and then we were playing with them, and I was like, I guess I can see it, but really? And then now, yeah, like he got really good really fast. It's pretty cool.
So I doubt any of our audience is commenting on a Friday video and talking trash. At least I hope not. If any of you are, you should feel bad about yourself. But yeah, no, they're legit. I mean, I had great time playing with them. It was super fun, great games. I was just like, dude, what the?
So now the real race is Jake to a 5.0 duper or you to a 5.0 duper first?
We'll see. I think Isaac's already there.
Yeah, Isaac
Jake is like about the same as me, I think.
Yep.
Okay, let's get to the stuff people actually care about.
Okay.
I just had some stories I had to tell there. Okay, first of all, we meant to tell this story last week.
I totally forgot about
If
this.
any of you had been paying attention on Instagram while we were at the Lakeland PPA, Isaac and I kept going back and forth, sniping pictures and videos of each other. Isaac with a wide body paddle and me with an elongated paddle. And people were like, what is this all about? What is going on? And some of the questions I had were like, you need to explain this. There's really no story other than that Isaac was there just to film and not play. And so when I finished playing for the day, you know, we'd kind of goof around on court, and Isaac didn't have a paddle with him because it was at the Airbnb. And so he would just have to borrow my wide body if he wanted to play. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take video of this and put this on Instagram as a joke.
This is the second time it's happened. It happened out in Dallas, and I was playing with Doug, Bodie, and Xiaomei, and there was no elongated paddles around, so I just had to grab a wide body. And then we took a picture afterwards, and Doug posted it, and a bunch of people in the comments were like, what is Isaac doing with a wide body? This is ridiculous. And I got so many DMs about it. And I was like, I don't feel like explaining this right now.
What was super funny is I think you only got me once, I think, but we were back at the Airbnb just relaxing. We were like rewatching gameplay from the tournament just to, you know, study a little bit. And Isaac just goes, hey, can you pick up that elongated paddle and just show me how you hold it? And so I was like, okay, sure. So I just pick it up, and Isaac immediately takes his phone, snaps a picture. I was like, God dang it. And then he put something on Instagram that was like, yep, Chris is using an elongated now.
I think I got two, because then you were playing singles the next day, and you had one in your hands.
Hey, but I would like the record to show, I have always said singles, elongated's better. Wide body, everything that's an advantage about a wide body is no longer an advantage in singles.
Look, I know some people are probably getting sick of this whole me hating on anything other than elongateds, so I'm going to keep this short. But I just want to say, the elongated's the reigning champ of sales numbers. That's all I'm going to leave it at that. All right? Until that gets dethroned across the industry, I don't want to hear nothing.
All right. We'll make it happen. Okay, moving on real quick. Don't have a lot of paddles to talk about this week. I just wanted to give an update on the Flamingo, and then we did also get a new paddle in the mail.
You mean the Peacock?
What did I say?
Flamingo.
I meant Peacock. I don't know why I keep saying that.
Yeah, I was going to say, keep saying Flamingo and you mean Peacock.
Yeah, I've been doing that a lot lately. Okay, so we already talked about the Peacock last week, but I did get to play with it more over this last week. So last week was kind of just initial impressions. We went out and drilled with it. Now I've actually gotten to play some games with it, and I just wanted to give some updated thoughts. First of all, I mentioned this last time, but I bought this myself from Dick's. At the time when this was on Dick's, they only had the elongated 16 millimeter. I knew there was a wide body.
I thought you said it was 15.
Well, it is 15, though. It's funny, talking to Justin, he did, this is why I need to start just measuring paddles. He did point out to me that it measures the exact same as how other 16 millimeter foam paddles measure. So this might not actually be 15 millimeter, which is kind of interesting.
Interesting.
Depending on, I guess, on how all the face layers work out. But long story short, it was
closer to a 15 or a 16 than a 15.
correct.
Yeah.
But that was including facing layers, I believe. Yep. Anyways, doesn't really matter. So yeah, there is a 13 millimeter of this, which I'd actually be very curious to hit as well, just because we haven't seen. I guess it depends if that measures like a 14, because then we have seen that before. But you know, a lot of the foam paddles recently have been the 16s, so I'm kind of curious how that would play, but I don't have it. So anyways, playing with this more now, I definitely have like a better opinion of it. So first, I'm very curious if in the X-ray, the thing that we saw as a fiberglass patch, if it's actually a fiberglass patch. I mean, it literally looks exactly like it from every other paddle, but the reason I say that is because last week, I definitely felt at times like the sweet spot was maybe just like a little different, or not off, but not in the way that maybe a Genesis was, and definitely not in the way that a Flick F1 was. And now that I've played actual games with it, I feel that even less. So I don't know if it's how the rest of the paddle is constructed, if there's like, I don't know. I literally just don't have much information on this paddle. All I know is that of all the paddles, if that is truly a fiberglass patch in the center, it feels the least inconsistent of the fiberglass patches that I have used. Like after playing doubles quite a bit with it and going between my loco, I was never going, oh, whoa, like I just like bounced that ball way further than I was expecting, or that didn't go far enough. And in fact, one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting as I played with it more, side by side with my loco, is I played a bunch of games with this and then pulled my loco out for comparison. And this is probably, my experience with it so far is probably like bottom-ish of the power category, because when I went back to my loco, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm actually having a hard time like controlling this. And the entire time I've used a loco, I've really not felt like I've had a hard time using it.
Sure.
You know, coming from a boomstick, going to the loco felt really easy. And then going to the Peacock felt even easier. Like I felt like I couldn't overswing, like I wasn't like launching a counter or anything. It felt like an acceptable, healthy amount of power, but it wasn't, wow, I'm going to like damage someone with this. And my drives and serves in particular, actually felt like I had to put more into them just to get what I'm used to out of it. So to me, it just felt like toned down from a loco. That's not a bad thing. And like, I haven't hit a flamingo in a while, but the way I kind of felt like as I was hitting it was like this was just going to be kind of like a foam flamingo. But I wouldn't take that as a hard fact. I haven't hit a flamingo in quite a while. Could be misremembering that a little bit.
I'd have to hit it side by side with like a Genesis and a Flick F1, because maybe the necessarily whatever that patch of material is, even if it is fiberglass and it's less inconsistent and less poppy than other ones, my overall experience with the paddle was still a pretty inconsistent feedback off the face.
Sure.
So it is definitely more muted than other, like definitely more muted than a boomstick, more muted and dead. Maybe not dead, but like
it's like dense.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't, comparing it side by side with the loco feels a lot more hollow. It
almost feels closer to a full block of EPP core than a floating core EPP.
I could see that.
You know, that's the feedback I feel. Like it feels closer to the Gen 4.5 than a loco.
Sure.
Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but just not. I can definitely say with confidence, not the feel preference that I prefer. Sure. I just couldn't. I couldn't play with this to save my life.
Yeah, I was actually surprised, especially because I'm not a fan of this shape. I feel like I was playing surprisingly fine with it, given that I don't like this shape.
Yeah, I should bring it to a play session I have tonight. A guy,
Go for it.
Guy that I'm playing with, he loves this shape for some reason. So I'm curious, and he has probably top 5 forehands I've ever.
Hey, you should let him mess with it. What you could hit a little bit more as well. But here's what I'd say: like, obviously this is not a full review or anything, but as I've hit it, what I would say is that this is one of those paddles where, to me, performance is, completely fine. But the problem you'll have with it is that it's not that the performance is an issue, it's that value is the issue.
Yes.
I just think with the enhanced, the loco, the coral, I mean, the coral is not a power paddle, but like...
How much is the coral? 200?
200 before a code. And like, there's a stack of paddles over there that I can't really see. So like, I'm trying to think of some of the other paddles. But like, I think if you have money and you've been a Proton fan and you wanted a foam paddle, you're probably going to like this paddle. But I just think you don't need to spend $280+ to get performance. Like, I don't think this does anything exceptionally better than any of the other foam paddles we've seen.
Yeah.
But if you just don't care about money, like, some people, they're like, oh, boomstick, I don't care. Like $332, whatever.
I was just talking to a friend of mine who owns a facility here, and I was asking about their pro shop and what paddles sell and, what's popular around there. And they're saying boomsticks fly.
Oh, I have no doubt. I mean,
as much as we see people, this is definitely a lot of just our audience, love to complain about how expensive the boomstick is. People are willing to cough it up. So, like, companies can charge whatever people are willing to pay. And it seems like people are willing to pay $300.
It's the classic, if it's expensive, it's got to be better. I was actually joking about this with the Friday guys. I was buying my wife her Christmas gift, and I got to think how to phrase this so that I don't give away her Christmas gift, because she's definitely going to listen to this pod if she hears about this. Long story short, there were things I was researching, and I was like, expensive one must be better. And then I paused for a second. I looked at myself and I said, Chris, you literally are in an industry where you talk about how $100 paddles are the equivalent of the expensive one. I was like, maybe do a little more research and figure this out.
I literally just did that to myself the other day. I was shopping online and I was like, I needed an item. I was like, this one's more expensive. This one's cheaper. This one's got to be better, right? And I was like, wait a second. Paddles is not the same.
So everyone does it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the natural thing, right? Like I would, generally speaking, you'd like to think, you can safely assume that if it's more expensive, it should be better.
Right.
Even though that's not true.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, all that to say, I think the Peacock's fine. I just don't think it wouldn't be at the top of my recommendation, because I just don't think it does anything better than what's already out there.
That's the thing nowadays. So like, okay, out of all the foam paddles that come to your mind that you can think of immediately, where would you put this?
Oh, wait, one last thing. I talked about this last week. The only thing I still don't know is about the warranty. Sure. So if it was like a lifetime warranty, okay, I'll like maybe give it some props for that, but I don't know that.
Sure.
But,
but I was saying, like, almost every company is going to have a paddle that's just, doesn't do anything that bad. It's fine, but would never recommend it, because of how expensive it is. So it's like, okay, I just think there's so many other paddles ahead of it in terms of value and performance that this falls pretty low on the totem pole for me. Yeah. I don't know if you feel the same.
No, I feel pretty similarly. I think it's just one of those things, right, where
there's going to be a group of people who like it.
100%.
But, I'm not saying it's a bad paddle. I just don't think it's where people should spend their money.
It's just a value thing.
Yeah.
It just comes down to value.
Yep.
Which is, what is inevitably bound to happen when companies are just making small tweaks to their paddles of the same concept, EPP core, floating ring, or, I guess I don't know for sure if this is EPP, but, a similar style of foam, some voids, and
a dense foam and an EVA.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's similar tweaks on a similar concept.
Yep.
Okay, next one. Don't actually have any time on this because this came, unfortunately, in the mail after we were hitting the other day.
Sucks.
But the upcoming Spartus GT. So I've kind of held off talking about this because I didn't have a paddle in my hand. But this is one that I'm particularly interested in testing more. So to my knowledge, this is essentially a loco. Oh, there, paddle started to fall. Okay. To my knowledge, it's essentially a loco, but Spartus has what they are calling their permagrit, which I believe is applied in the U.S. and not applied overseas. So that is kind of like Selkirk's Infinigrit. And what's interesting is touching this, like I was trying to explain this to you over the phone last night, it doesn't feel super gritty.
There's areas of it that do, though. It almost feels inconsistent. Like usually, paddles, like, because you just don't hit down here, like will feel super gritty, and then you like in other areas it's usually it feels around the same. This is like it's smooth down here, and then on the side here is crazy. Like feel right there where my thumb is.
Okay, and then what, the center?
Yeah, or just anywhere else. It feels way different.
Yeah, I guess a little bit.
So
the bottom is more like I guess, a little different to me. But I think what's fascinating is it's not that it's so gritty, but it almost feels like stickier, but not. Oh, it's very sparkly.
I noticed that in the light. It's super sparkly, and it's
like way more sparkly than like the diamond in the.
Yeah,
6-0.
I don't know if this is showing up on camera. And my light's probably too hot.
I'd say almost certainly not showing up, but it's extremely sparkly.
It's like glitter, and then also without a light, it's like glossy.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting texture. It's not supposed to be raw carbon fiber. It is not something that I believe we've traditionally seen. It doesn't feel like spray-on grit. The long story short, I don't even remember if I said the name of it. They're calling it permagrit, another take on, longer-lasting grit in pickleball, which is great to see more companies putting effort into that, which I'm just going to have to add this to the list of grit paddles to test. That I need companies to... Okay, I'm not going to say that because I want companies to come out with longer-lasting textures, but this project is going to take me forever if they keep coming out. It's so... God, it's just so many paddles to hit.
Yeah.
But anyways, if this is a loco, longer lasting texture, I've seen some people talking about this, how it plays in my Discord in terms of spin, and everything makes it sound like it's elite. Now, I'm going to say, when I hear things on the internet, I do always take it with a grain of salt because there's definitely a trend of people see new thing. They're very excited about it. Fresh grit. Always spins better than non-fresh grit. So until I hit it myself, I'm going to hold judgment. But I have heard that it spins very well. So we're going to see. But I'm personally very excited to hit this.
These printed lines, vertical lines on the face is a very interesting move.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting. Just like you just don't traditionally see that.
Right. Oh, all right.
So
well,
I don't know. Don't have much updates other than that. I don't have the price on this yet.
What shapes are you saying it comes in? This is a hybrid.
This one's a hybrid. I'm almost positive they're doing two shapes, but I just can't remember if the second was a wide body or an elongated. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I thought. Okay. But yeah, as soon as I get time on this, I'll keep you guys updated. I'm kind of waiting for approval, as we have seen many times, notably the Rhombus Ripple. Talking about a paddle before it is approved almost always ends in disaster. So I don't really want to contribute to that problem again. But if all goes well, this is potentially a paddle to keep your eye on.
Right.
Going to be kind of interesting.
For sure.
Don't have it on hand here, but I did also finally get 2 new Luzz Infernos, so I can finally start working on some content about that now that I have some brand new ones.
You can also compare it to one that's been hit for a while.
Thonked up.
Yup.
So, yeah.
Do you want to talk about the paddle that I was hitting the other day, or do you want to wait till you've hit it?
Let's wait till I've hit it. Okay. Let's wait a little bit on that. Okay. Next up, I got a kind of funny thing. Look, I know I'm about to offend half our audience. It's fine. I say this all the time when I play pickleball. I say it at tournaments.
This is his favorite thing to say when we're drilling, playing games. Doesn't matter. His favorite thing. This is his one-liner that he's got.
Okay, listen. I'm just going to say right now, if you are over the height of 6 foot, just cover your ears. If you're driving right now, turn your audio off. Hey, wives, if your husband's listening to this, just turn the audio off for him. In the off chance that there are any women listening to this that are over 6 foot, you can also just turn the audio off. Yeah, this is probably a long enough warning. I hate tall people. Okay, I need to explain why I feel this way. Forget age divisions. Forget skill divisions. I want height divisions in pickleball. Me as like a 5'8", 5'9" male playing against a 6'3", 6'4" dude. Hate it. They're taking balls out of the kitchen that I couldn't dream of reaching. They're flicking balls at me that I can't reach. They're reaching balls. They're covering court that I can't cover. Put them in their own division. I don't want to see them in my 5-0 division. I don't want to see them in my rec play. Get them out of my division. I say it so often. It's all, obviously, if you can't tell, it's a joke. But
yeah,
all the time I catch myself saying, I hate tall people while I'm playing pickleball.
Oh, it's so funny. Like, it's funny because I feel like in ways, yes, it is definitely an advantage. But then the greatest argument throw right back at you is, look at Anna Lee.
I know.
It's like 5'2".
I know. But she probably hates tall people too. Dude, like, okay, obviously, mostly a joke here. But I just like, man, how nice would it be to be able to reach that ball? I'm like, I can't flick that ball. I can barely reach and dink that ball over the net. And the next thing I know, I'm getting hit in the chest.
You know who started picking up that line in Lakeland, Florida?
Who?
Mia, when I was playing singles against her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was just covering the entire kit. She couldn't pass me.
Yeah.
So
It sucks.
Yeah, it's great.
Friggin' sucks. Put you guys in your own division. Go play. Why waste the genetic talent you were born with? Go play tennis.
Go play tennis.
Don't play pickleball. You know what? I'm going to start a movement. If you're over 6 foot, you can't play pickleball.
Think about how many top 10 players are 6 feet and above. Ben, Andre, Alshon, Gabe. Who else is top 10?
I don't know who all is in the top 10, but I mean, Eric Onsens.
I mean, yeah, Eric Onsens. I think Connor Garnett's over 6 feet tall. Jack Sock's over 6 feet tall. Like, yeah, all these people. But there are some short dudes out there.
I mean, Zhao Mei obviously covers a significant amount of court in singles, but I'm just saying, man, go play your own sport. Leave the pickleball to the short people.
I wonder how many other people out there share the same feeling.
Let us, if you're listening on YouTube, you comment right now. You let me know.
We need to have like a poll in the comments. How much 6 feet and above and 6 feet and under, or under.
Maybe I
6
should put
feet.
this on Instagram.
Who how much of our audience is over 6 feet tall?
That's actually funny. How many people did I just offend? Was it 50%, 60%? Was it 40%? Okay.
Oh.
Anyways, jokes aside, moving on. You know what season it is?
Oh yeah.
Paddle Awards, baby.
Yep.
We're not doing them here. You guys know, if you've been following the channel for a while, we always do a huge wrap-up video at the end of the year. I'm working on locking in all the nominees and who's winning awards probably within the next week.
Yep.
Getting those trophies ordered.
We got to get on that.
Yeah, I know. This happens to me every year.
I feel like normally we'd have the trophies by now.
No, I checked.
Really?
We didn't. I hadn't ordered them yet. But it's not. That's not a good thing. I shouldn't.
I was gonna say
that.
that shouldn't be something.
The place I order the trophies from every time is like, we might be able to make it, and I'm like, can you please make it?
Please.
Yeah, exactly. But this year, dude, I mean, I've started my list of kind of what the potential nominees are. This is easily the most confusing year ever. Because one, the only thing companies focused on, understandably so, I'm not complaining, was power paddles.
Yep.
That's what everyone wanted. So basically every paddle we saw this year was a power paddle, and most of the control paddles we saw kind of sucked compared to previous year control paddles, if I'm being honest. Not a ton of all-court options came out. It's just going to be very interesting. Like, I think I've kind of got what's going to win some awards here, because I haven't decided yet. But as I've been looking at my list, I'm kind of like, you know what? Just because something came out that year, I think does not mean it is the best option.
Yeah.
You know, like historically, pickleball's kind of been like smartphones, where, the newer one was better.
There's always an upgrade.
And I still think that's mostly true. However, I think there are a couple categories where that's not true, and where the old paddles are just as good as the new ones.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting.
The Paddle Awards, end of year Paddle Awards, is always a really fun video. I've been working on that down here, kind of crafting up some new sets and designs and lighting and stuff. It's always a lot of fun. So I look forward to shooting that when the trophies get in. So that's always a fun video. But almost also equally as exciting is our end of year pod this year. Stay tuned, guys, because last year, our very last pod of the year, I kind of stole something from the Waveform podcast. For those of you who don't know, it's a tech podcast where they do predictions for the next year. And we made some predictions of what 2025 was going to look like with a bunch of things, paddles and other stuff. And I gathered that information and threw it all on a list. Chris does not know
I can't remember what I said.
Stuff. Yeah, he doesn't remember it.
So I'm going to live react.
So I've got it all listed, and man, some of our predictions are pretty darn funny. So
that'll be the last pod of the year.
That's going to be
a
really funny one.
Yeah, I can't wait. So, okay. You've officially made it to the kitchen. Let's see how deep we are. 41 minutes in. Not quite. It's probably like 30 because cameras were on for a bit. Welcome to the kitchen.
All right.
All of you who made it here, all you had to do today was hit a third and a fifth, and you made it. It wasn't a third, fifth, a seventh, a ninth, and an 11th. Congrats on making it in 2 balls.
We're kind of cruising.
here are the questions. We had a lot of questions from last week. You guys had some really great questions. I always love reading some of these. So let's get through them. First one, this question might go for a little bit because it was going to be a topic originally. Someone said, advice for increasing your DUPR, but not have to deal with all the tournament fees. So tournaments can get very expensive very quickly. As someone who did, what was it, 5 by the end of this year? It will have been 5 PPAs for the end of the year. It's very expensive. Now, but this was a little probably more expensive for me than what most people would because I was covering some of the lodging and the rental car for our group of people instead of everyone splitting it. So that obviously added some cost. Also depends if you're doing local versus non-local. But all that to say, tournaments get expensive fast.
Yes.
If you play a lot of tournaments, even locals, I mean, $100+ per registration, and like it adds up quick. Personally, having been on this journey of chasing 5.0, my DUPR is currently 4.72, I believe. I've learned a handful of interesting things about improvement, the DUPR algorithm, and what I think is perhaps optimal. If your objective is just get the highest DUPR possible, here's kind of what I'm thinking right now.
Just win a 5.0 division.
I mean, yeah, just get
Yeah,
good.
just
I mean,
win.
come on, it's so easy.
What
dude.
are you doing, man?
Just pickle everyone in the division. It's not that hard.
Why are you taking the long road here?
Okay, so personally, if I was going to redo this and someone said, dude, you just have to get DUPR up, I would let my reliability tank. I would not play a tournament for 6+ months. I would let my reliability drop as much as possible, and I would train so much in that time span, as much as I possibly could to get better at the game. And then I would play a tournament, and when your reliability is low, that is when you see crazy swings in your DUPR. I've now been at multiple tournaments where I've seen how people's low reliability has impacted their DUPR rating, and me having 100% reliability this whole time, I'm moving at most 0.02. I would have to crush a 5.2 or 5.3 team to see a substantial amount of movement. So every tournament, I'm basically ending neutral. Like I barely move up or down.
Or you just have to beat them by more.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like I would have to just smoke some of these people. And, which just means I have to get better. But the people who have low reliability ratings, I'm seeing swings of 0.25, 0.3, like per game.
But I'm curious to and then there is still obviously big swings if your reliability is low. But do you remember when we were in Austin, that one guy who won that money ball out there? I'm curious how much his DUPR would have gone up with the new algorithm.
Yeah, it would have been
based
very
on
interesting
points.
to see.
So I'm sure it still would have skyrocketed.
For
But would
those
it
of
have
you
gone as high?
listening, he didn't play a tournament for over a year. His DUPR was 4.2. He then went on to win an open division Moneyball tournament, and there were
With 5.8s. I think there was one guy who was almost 6.0.
Yeah, there was legit teams in it, and he was rocking people. He jumped from a 4.2 to a 5.3.
Yep.
Yeah, he jumped 1.1 in one tournament.
Yeah.
So he's kind of doing exactly what I just said. Now, there are pros and cons to this, right? Because I do think that playing tournaments, you gain valuable experience on the mental side of things. And if you were to just play no tournaments, you may not build up that experience of things that you just don't know, right? Like, as I've been doing this, tournaments have been a very different experience than what they've been in the past. And I would say I've had more mental issues or stress than I have before. So if you save all of it for one tournament, you might experience a lot of stress trying to I got to perform.
I was going to say, because the risky thing is it could have the opposite effect. If you lose your reliabilities low, you could also lose a ton of rating. I saw that happen to somebody at one of the tournaments we were at.
Sure.
He, his reliability was low. He had won a match and he went up a bunch, but then he had lost the next 2 and he just absolutely tanked back down and further.
Now, what is interesting, too, I don't know how many matches you have to do before reliability starts getting really solid. I have a feeling, obviously, the lower you go, the more matches it's going to take before DUPR feels it's reliable. So you may experience some pretty large swings for a while, but I'd like to think if you truly trained over 6-8 months and you went hard, I mean, it's unlikely that you're going to probably lose to people that you would have, that you shouldn't lose to, right? Like if you were going to start playing 5-0 tournaments, you were a 4-5 before, ideally 6 to 8 months. Like you made some pretty substantial improvement where it's like you losing to the 4-5s is like next to impossible.
Right.
So I think that's one option of doing it, is just letting your reliability go down. Or even if your reliability doesn't tank, maybe you play one tournament a month and you just train really hard. Like one of the things that I'm realizing in hindsight with chasing 5-0 is I'm glad I did all these tournaments. It's been very fun, and I feel like I've gained a lot of experience, but I also think it was too many tournaments back to back. I had 5 weekends in a row of tournaments, and to stack training, going to the tournaments, and work on top of that was just too much. Like I actually think if I had more time in between to work on things and not be tired, I'm not saying we'd have a wildly different result, but I do think I just would have had less physical and mental fatigue. And so I think you don't overdo the tournaments.
For sure.
I think there's maybe a thought like, but I could like jump it really quick if I want to do it in a short amount of time. Nah, I'm not going to say
this is
impossible.
Particularly though, I think if you're going to like big tournaments, I think like there's a lot less stress, in my opinion, at local tournaments. Smaller local tournaments, I don't agree. Feel as much stress, and so PPAs are just way different.
Yeah,
so
it's definitely different.
I think. I mean, back in the day, I used to do a lot of like these small lifetime tournaments, and I gained a bunch of DUPR from those years ago. So I don't know if you have those in your area. I know we still have them going on here. Those could be a good way to increase the DUPR. And those are cheap. Those are like $15 for entry fee.
Yeah,
$15 or $20. So I don't know.
I think
it's a tough one.
I think at the end of the day, people just need to accept the fact that you just need to train more, and you have to just be noticeably better than what you are now.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, gaming the system, trying to do all these things people talk about, like, find an underrated player who's actually really good, but their DUPR's not good, so then you get a lot of credit. Like, yeah, sure, you can do those things, but the most reliable way to do it is just get better at the game. I just drill, train. Yeah, it's not the sexy thing, but most of the times in life, the things that you need to do are not complicated. They're just boring, and no one actually wants to do them.
Yeah.
No one wants to go hit 300 drops in a drill session.
Right.
They would rather say like, oh man, if I find a 3.8, but they're actually a 4.6, I might be able to go up in a tournament. No, just go hit your drops.
Yeah.
Eat your Wheaties.
Eat your Wheaties.
Eat your Wheaties. Okay, so that's kind of my opinion on the DUPR thing. I think at the end of the day, just go drill a lot. And actually, one last thing I want to say about this. I kind of wish I thought about doing this with the Chasing 5.0, and I think I kind of overthought things. But a strategy that I think is far better for improving is, instead of trying to work on multiple skills at a time, and, like maybe in a session, you're going to practice some counters, some resets. I think all of that's fine and is a good thing to do. But the most amount of improvement I've ever seen in a skill in pickleball is when I did my 15,000 backhands, two-handed backhands in 2 weeks. I have literally never had any other shot improve faster than that. I went from having a basically non-existent two-handed backhand piece of garbage to it's probably one of my, by the end of that, it was probably one of my best shots, probably better than my forehand. I would say my backhand is better than my forehand right now. And it's because I just put so many reps on it. And I think for all improvement, if you just pick a skill and go hard at it for like 2 weeks, and it's like you study it, you figure out what's wrong with yours, I think you can see much faster improvement. And I think I'm going to go back to doing that. Like, pick a skill and like, dude, I'm going all in on this, kind of get that down to where it's in my subconscious, and then move on. Because right now it's kind of like, you know what? My drop's not been feeling great. I'll tune that up a little bit. Then I kind of fix it a little bit. Then I'm like, you know what? Let's work on like my forehand dink. Whereas I just think if I had went all in on one thing for a while, it'd be faster improvement.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
So yeah. Okay. Next up, since that was a long one, what is better for performance, polymer or foam?
What are we quantifying as performance?
We're not talking durability based on this question.
Yeah.
I thought this was an interesting question because I think this is something that's probably on a lot of people's minds, and there just is no definitive answer to this. All of them are good performing paddles. The Boomstick is a good performing paddle. The Pro 4 is a good performing paddle. The Thrive Fury, the RPM, Gen 3s, the 11624 Power Series, They're all good paddles. All the foam, not I'm going to say all of them. There are bad polymer paddles and there are bad foam paddles.
Yep.
But it all just comes down to preference.
I was going to say, they all perform very well. Okay, again, not all. A lot of foam paddles, a lot of polymer paddles perform very well. It just comes down to what nuances about the paddles fit your play style and what you like.
Yeah.
Because they're all just slightly different and a little bit unique. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a Quanta, a Wiesel, or a Tornado, an Inferno, like they're all just slightly different, but they all perform great.
Yeah.
An Inferno performs great, but a Wiesel also performs great.
Nope.
And they're one's half the price.
Nope.
But
and same thing on the Gen 3 side.
Exactly.
Canon, RPM, Pro 4, Thrive Fury, Alpha Pro Power, you really just can't go wrong. It just depends on the feel you want. A lot of the big thing that I am finding is that people who seem to be really attached to Gen 3 paddles really like how connected of a feel you get from that. And which is interesting because a lot of people will say things like, oh, foam is too muted, or it just feels dead, or I just don't have this connection to it. But with how different so many of the foam paddles are these days, I just don't really understand it, because to me, a boomstick, a loco, I feel very connected to the ball when I hit those. They'll let you know you hit the ball. It's not a Genesis. It's not a Waves where it's super muted and it's kind of hard to feel the ball. It's not a 008 or a Blue Core.
Yep.
They're just completely different paddles. So I don't really understand that.
I've been hitting and playtesting the RPM to kind of break it in, get a better opinion on it. And I had a play session the other day where I played a few games with the RPM, then bounced and played a few games with the Loco. And at this point, I've been playing with foam for so long, and personally, I just think foam paddles are better. I much preferred going back to foam and playing with the Loco then, and I feel the same way. The Loco in particular is not really a muted paddle.
Yeah.
There's no lack of connection to the ball that I was losing going from the RPM to the Loco.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. It really just comes down to preference. Personally, I think foam paddles are better and I prefer them. And it took a little bit of an adjustment period, but not a whole lot,
Yeah. I just think at the end of the day, you can't let someone tell you one is definitively better than another, because it just comes down to what you want from a paddle, your mechanics, how you like to play, how you want the ball to feel. They're all good. I think it's just, you kind of have to weigh pros and cons, right? With Gen 3 paddles, they just will core crush. We just know this. It's not going to get fixed. I don't care what any company says. It hasn't been fixed. It will not be fixed. They will core crush.
Yeah.
If the performance of a Gen 3 is really what you want, that's fine. You just accept that.
I wouldn't even say performance. Feedback.
Whatever. If you're fine, then it'll break and you're fine warranting it, go for it. By all means. It's the same thing with the paddle tech. I think there are objectively better power paddles out there, but there are some people who love them, and to them it is the paddle, and that's fine, because they accept that the trade-off is, I have a slightly worse sweet spot, and that's worth it to me. Everything about paddles is a trade-off.
Yeah.
What are you willing to sacrifice to gain something else?
Right.
So, there is no, unfortunately, to answer your question, there is no best.
They're really,
They're all really good. This was an interesting one. How much should a tournament player spend on a paddle?
I have an interesting take on this one.
Okay, go ahead.
Depends on how serious you are. And I don't mean the more serious you are, the more you should spend. I think the more serious you are, the less you care about how much you have to spend to get the exact paddle that fits your preference. If you're someone that's not as serious, you're probably not willing to pay an extra $100 or $150 to find the small nuance difference that you prefer a little bit more, right? But if you're more serious about competing and playing tournaments, then you probably don't care how much you have to spend to get the exact feel and feedback off the paddle that you want.
Or you may care, but you value the small edge that you perceive you're getting may be more important to you than the extra $150 you'd spend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that would be my take on it.
I think, I would agree. I think there is no correct answer, right? You want to spend $100 on a Quanta, a Canon, a Wiesel, a Friday Fever? go for it. They're all awesome. In fact, for a lot of people, I'd probably just recommend you do that.
One of the best players in the world plays with a $140 paddle.
Oh, Gabe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just, and at the cheap, what is nice is if you find that the more value paddles fit your style, you have like cheaper fresh grit.
Yep. You can buy 3 of them.
That is a great thing to have at a tournament.
Yep.
Having fresh grit is awesome. So really just comes down to it, right? If a boomstick, if you just love how it feels and you're willing to pay for that performance, sorry, you're spending $333.
Yep.
And some people are, that feel of that paddle matters so much to them that they will spend that money. And other people are going to go, dude, why would I ever do that when I could buy 3, 4 of any of these value paddles?
Right.
So again, there's not a correct answer, but I do think that the budget paddles have gotten very good, and they're not the reason you're not winning tournaments.
Exactly.
Like if you had to go play with like one of the 4, budget ones we named, like the Quanta, the VSOL, the Canon, whatever, like you could go win a tournament with that paddle. Any of them. Obviously, one of them you'll probably have a preference over another, but like I don't think for you that you wouldn't be half a point worse with one of those.
Right.
I don't even think you'd probably be a quarter point worse. There might just be like, you know what? I just feel more comfortable with one of these other paddles, like a Loco or something, but I don't think you'd objectively play that much worse.
Exactly. No, I agree.
Okay. If you were a 3-5 again, would you pay for lessons, and what would your budget be? See, this is like interesting. When I first saw this, my gut reaction was yes, I would. And then when I saw that, I said, well, why aren't you taking more lessons now? Which is funny because I actually did just schedule a lesson.
Well, I was going to say, why didn't you take more lessons back then? But this is more of like a looking back.
Yeah. I think the reason then is just that I probably didn't really feel like I needed it. I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
I think now I would definitely consider it more because it would speed up the learning curve on a lot of things or help you avoid potentially really bad habits that you have to unlearn later.
Sure.
I think there are probably a handful of habits I've picked up that I really wish I didn't have. And I could have probably avoided that if I took some lessons. And as far as budget goes, it really depends on your region. I find that in Minnesota, if you're going to probably do one of the better coaches, and better is an interesting term, right? If you're a 3-0, a 3-5, probably even a 4-0, you don't need like a world-class coach. You could have probably just a good 5-0 like Moneyball tournament winner who does some side coaching, probably give you some great advice.
Yeah.
I'm kind of at the point now where I really want to feel like I know the person is a good player and is like considerably better than me, even though that it may not necessarily need that. And because of that, those people here, I feel like it ends up ranging probably between like 90 and 130 an hour.
It is kind of funny how the higher level you get as a player, the less the level of your coach matters. Like their skill level. Like to 4-0s, 4-5s, they want someone who's really good to be their coach, right? But then you look at like 5-0, 5-5 and pros, obviously their coach isn't going to be a better player than them, but the mindset, strategy, and
I feel like it's like different things
better
as you go up in level. Mechanics always matter a little bit, but I feel like when you get to those really high level guys, it's more like decision making.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like the skill level matters less. How good they are at actually playing. Yeah. Like Zach Silvernail, he coaches Augie, Augie's a much better player than Zach.
Yeah.
But Zach, you're just having someone who can see the court and understand patterns better.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. But yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't know exactly what my answer would be. I don't know if I would pay for lessons.
I think it depends what your objective is.
That's fair. I just also think nowadays, knowing what we know, like there's so much at that level at 3-5. There's so much on YouTube now that can speed up the process. I think I would probably, if I was a true 3-5, I would spend more time watching these videos on YouTube, trying to get to like a 4 or 4-5. And then at that point, an in-person coach would matter more.
Or maybe it's one of those, you do that, find something you're really stuck on.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I'll find an in-person coach because they can spot what my issue is and maybe correct it quicker.
Yeah, right.
Every time I've ever done coaching, I've been pretty surprised how much I walked away with. I think I always feel, not because I'm just so good at pickleball and coaching wouldn't help me, but I'm always just like, how much is it really going to help? Always helps a lot. Like if you're wanting to get better at pickleball and your debate is, should I buy a new paddle because there's a slightly better one on the market? Like I've got a Loco and the Spartus P1 with longer lasting grit looks kind of interesting. Spend the money on lessons, you'll improve way faster. Promise. Yeah. I promise you. It's the paddle helps, but it's not going to help like coaching will.
Exactly.
So, okay, moving on. Let's see. Okay. What is the best setup for the B&B Loco elongated?
There's any question that starts with what is the best? Yeah. There's just not going to be an answer, guys. I'm sorry.
I'm going to try and leave some links in the description to some weighted tape videos we've done because I don't want to go over all of it now. But best is just so subjective to what you want from a paddle. You look at some of these pro players, the amount of weight they slap at the head of their paddle is insane. And I promise most amateurs can't swing that effectively. And what that amateur needs is just different than what that pro needs.
Actually, you know what? What's that website? I'm going to find it real quick. There's a guy who built a website who put all of like the pros weight setups and our weight setups for our like main paddles.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Onto a website. Let me find it real quick. It is, I got it here. Pickleballsettings.com. And so he has like a whole profile built for me. Has my name, picture, age, my paddle, gives all the specs of the paddle, what shoes I wear, grips. I should actually haven't changed that. And then it, more importantly to the question, says what weight setup I use on a Loco. So if you just want to copy what I use on a Loco, it's on this website. But again, what I like on a paddle, I would say most people are not going to like because I prefer very heavy paddles.
Yeah.
So it's just different. Everyone's going to have different needs. Like there might be someone who says, what's the best setup for this paddle? But they have like kind of an injured wrist or a weak wrist. Well, personally, I believe what I use is the best for me, but it's not going to be the best for that person.
Yep.
So it's just such a hard question to answer, particularly with weight setups in general.
Yeah. So check the videos in the description. They will give you an idea of where placing different weight, like what it does, how you should experiment, and so on. But really, you just need to mess with it and find what works for you. Personally, for most amateurs, I'm going to say at 3 and 9 on the paddle and below is most of the time probably where you want to put weight. Yeah. I don't think, I'm not saying you should never put it above, but.
And then we spark the whole debate of do you dense your weight in one area, you spread it out. It's like,
don't go down that rabbit hole yet. Don't go down that rabbit hole yet.
It gets all crazy.
Okay, next up, have you tried the new PIKKL skins? I haven't, and I have them on my desk. I can literally see them right over there. This is something I've been wanting to mess with. But again, with trying to keep up with the paddle reviews and the Chasing 5.0, yada, 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 I've said it a million times. It's just been hard to find time for some of that. I was particularly sensitive to not wanting to use them because I had tournaments coming up and I didn't want to throw the weight of my paddle off right before a tournament. But I did want to talk about these because I think if you're not, sometimes I think I assume our audience is all very competitive players. And I just don't think that's true. I would actually be very curious to know how, the percentage of our audience that is truly invested in tournaments and really wanting to get better. Because if you mostly play rec and maybe you do some DUPR leagues here and there, honestly, the 4 swing weight points that thing adds just might not matter to you. And the cost savings that it could, let me talk about this quick because a lot of you probably don't even know what I'm talking about. PIKKL, PIKKL, made these skins that you can put on your paddle. They're this little oval. It doesn't cover the entire face. It basically covers
sticker.
It's a sticker. It goes on your paddle, covers the sweet spot. And the idea is that it protects the grit that is beneath. So, or if your paddle wears out, you can put this on and refresh your grit. They are not currently tournament legal for PPA, USAP, any type of tournament. They're not legal. The idea is just to protect or refresh a paddle that's worn down. And to my knowledge, they seem to work very well on that. I think John has ran some RPM numbers.
I've used them before. There's a noticeable improvement.
Yeah. So I think if you are a rec player and you're concerned about your paddles not lasting long enough or your spin not lasting long enough, that probably matters more to you than a couple point increase in swing weight.
Yeah.
For me, the reason that it's been maybe more of a debate is, one, I'm in a lucky position where I have access to a lot of paddles. Not a lot of people have that, so I'm very fortunate. But I don't want my paddle to feel different in practice, and then when I go to a tournament, it feels a little different because I took a lot of weight off. But if you're just going to play rec, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You're just out there to have fun, and you're just trying to save money. And this could save you a lot of money. You combine a good foam core paddle and these, what's going to be the problem? Not that foam can't go dead over time, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but it'll last a whole heck of a lot longer, Mm-hmm. I think that's just...
The only thing is you probably will get a lot of questions. You show up with these 100.
They look a little funny.
They look a little wonky. You've got a big oval gray sticker on the center of your paddle. So if you're fine with people being like, what on earth is on your paddle? Because it's not really a mainstream thing right now that I'm aware of. I think they perform fine.
Yeah, I think the value proposition is there.
Yeah.
I think it just depends on the type of player you are.
Yeah, 100%.
So, okay, next up. How much do you pay for indoor play in Minnesota since you can't, play outdoors 6 months of the year? Kind of depends. There are different options. So a lot of our facilities are just rent the court as you go, per hour, and those probably range between $40 and $50 an hour, split 4 ways. But personally, the best options is there's one facility that does an $80 a month monthly fee, and you can book a court every day. And that one's great. That one's just a little far for us. Yeah. It's probably about a 25-minute drive, which is just, we have a lot of dense courts. I'm sure 25 minutes to some areas is a very short drive, but for us, it's a little far. So that is a good option here and is very reasonable for price. And then Lifetime is primarily what we use. Lifetime, I think, for most of the competitive players in pickleball in Minnesota is one of the best options because, one, we're spoiled because we have a ton of Lifetimes
everywhere.
The founder lives here, so the pickleball clubs are much nicer than a lot of the other states I have been to. We have multiple dedicated pickleball only facilities, and then even some of the ones that are still a whole other Lifetime are still nice.
Yep.
So we're lucky in that way, and that costs, it depends on the membership you have, but I think on the cheapest end you can do is about $200 a month. And with as much as we hit for work and all of that, it's very worth it, having access to lots of clubs.
I mean, it sounds like a lot, even if it's $250 a month. I was talking to some friends about it last night where
I'll do some math.
If you really are into pickleball and play a lot, I think alone it's almost worth it. But then you include all the other amenities and the fact that you have access to a gym, sauna, some places have cold tubs, all these things. I think it ends up being pretty darn worth it. And the thing that I think is the most valuable is having access to Lifetimes across the country. If you travel, oh my gosh, it comes in handy so much. The amount of times I've been after a tournament where I'm oh, I really want to shower, or our Airbnb is super far away, just stop at a Lifetime.
Yeah.
Or oh man, I want to go play some rec games before the tournament somewhere else. Let's go to a Lifetime.
Yeah.
They're just everywhere. So I think just having the network of Lifetimes across the country, if you travel at all, just adds to the value.
Yeah, definitely. And the rough math I just did was, $200 a month. Let's say you play half of the month, 15 days. Each time that's $13 every time you play.
Yeah.
And if you're going to rent a court here, I think
some
over
of it's
time,
$60 an hour now.
Yeah, and that would just add up. If you're going to play that often,
if you play more than twice a week, then it would be worth it.
I'd have to really run the math. I feel like it's probably going to come down to 3 or more, but
dude, if it's $60 an hour,
yeah, but you're splitting it 4 ways.
Even still, 2 hours, $120 split between 4 ways. I still think.
Also depends too. Some people may just show up to play an open play, and they may pay $10, $15 each time. That's a little different too. It depends how you're playing, but yeah, for us in Minnesota, Lifetime is one of the best options.
I definitely think Lifetime is the best.
I mean, there's just so many Lifetimes here. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up. What is our take on choking up on the paddle? So this became, I think I saw on Instagram, Braden had done a thing about this, and I think this was I'm actually surprised no one had done this sooner. I think I have this problem where because we are so immersed in this and we're doing so many random projects every week, there are things that I know but have never verbalized to the audience, and I maybe just assume like, oh yeah, this would be like common sense. Everyone would know this, which is a really stupid thing for me to do, and this is one of them. Choking up on the paddle will, if you haven't seen it, Braden did an experiment. There are a lot of pros choking up about an inch on the handle right now. They'll hold right above the butt cap. And so Braden did an experiment where he chopped off the butt cap and measured the swing weight. And it was a 22-point reduction in swing weight, which if you don't know, 22 points is astronomical. That would take a heavy elongated paddle and make it an extremely light paddle.
Yeah,
like
that's like, we're talking like not quite this much, but like Franklin Dynasty, the like old heavy ones, to the Franklin Tempo C45.
Yeah, not quite that low, but
I mean, yeah, not
far.
quite that much, but pretty darn close.
All you need to know is it would take a paddle that is objectively heavy and make it feel very light.
Yes.
And so this is okay. I have so many thoughts here. So let me continue on this. So if you hold up higher on the paddle, your swing weight will reduce. The more weight that you hold up higher on the paddle, the like lighter the thing is going to feel to swing. If you want an easy example of this, take a hammer, just keep sliding your hand up until you get close to the head. It's going to feel...
It's just leverage.
Yeah.
It's just leverage.
The further the weight is from your hand, the harder it's going to feel to swing.
Yeah.
Okay? That's exactly what's happening with a pickleball paddle. So if you hold all the way at the very bottom of the handle, like your pinky's holding off, that's like about as high of a swing weight as you're going to make the paddle. But if you move your hand up, it's going to get easier and easier to swing. So there have been pros doing this. Hayden's a great example. Ben does it.
Fed.
Yeah, Fed does it. More and more people are doing
Roscoe.
this. What I think is fascinating about it is pros subconsciously figured out, you know what? All this weight we're putting on paddles is making them kind of heavy. We're going to move our hand up so it's not so heavy anymore and like lowers the swing weight. I think it's very interesting that...
I mean, we don't know for sure that that's why they do it. Maybe that's just how they hold it, like that's their comfortable grip.
Maybe. It could. You're right.
Just saying, we don't know for sure.
Right. We don't know. But I do have a feeling that with how much weight people are adding, it's just like one of those like, oh, I go up and this actually feels a little bit better. It's actually funny. I remember Pickleball Will, if you go way back, I think it's a video on his channel. He was talking about like how to have faster hands. This is like way back, like when we first met.
Yeah.
And one of the things he talked about was like, oh, if you want faster hands, just choke up on the paddle. And at the time, I was like, I don't like that. Like, you don't see tennis players choke up on those. That was kind of stupid. Well, Will was right. Pros are doing it now. Yeah. So congrats, Will. If you're listening, you were right.
Yeah.
What you've been messing with this. What's your take on this?
I find, I mean, yeah, naturally you're going to have slightly faster hands. But what I've found, so I've been hesitant, not really wanting to choke up. It's funny how I've gone back and forth. When I first started playing pickleball, I came from like ping pong at that time, and I was holding it like a ping pong paddle. I was choking I was Callan Dawson in that thing. And then a friend of ours at the time, he was a tennis coach, now a pickleball coach. He's like, why are you holding like that? Hold down here like a tennis racket. I was like, okay, I don't know. I was like, oh, this feels really weird. So I started doing it. And then now I'm going back the other way. So I do it. I was hesitant because I didn't want to lose. I've always held as low as I can because of a Tui. The comfort for a Tui, because I have fairly big hands. But I've changed how I hold my Tui now, and I have more room on the paddle. And I'm starting to choke up because I've found much more consistency and control on volleys, in particularly volley dinks and like blocks. So that's why I do it. Just more consistency when dinking.
I definitely did. This is something I picked up on a really long time ago, like all the way back to my Gearbox CX11. Well, I'm trying to think now. Maybe it's not quite a one-to-one example. Basically, what I was going to say is that I have found that with like very long handle paddles, I have definitely felt like I will have less control on certain types of shots versus when I have a shorter handle. I just like feel almost like the paddle's like a little bit more of an extension of my arm sometimes. And I imagine that choking up would have the same type of impact, kind of like what you're saying. So it's just kind of interesting. It's like a random
What
thing.
I've noticed recently is I'm almost less sensitive to the swing weight of paddles and more the balance point. I've noticed that I Like balance point affects how I like paddles much more than swing weight.
See, I'd be very curious to see, like, balance point is still one of those things that I think is like highly misunderstood in pickleball and really isn't a metric that's used. But I'd be very curious to find ways to like study that a little bit more, or the impacts of it, because it's definitely has an impact. I would just be curious to know what the actual impact is, because like, for example, I have definitely had people where they had higher balance point paddles, and they're like, oh, this feels really nice to swing. And then I'll give them like a low balance point paddle, and they're like, this one's too heavy. And I'm like, what are you smoking? I'm like, what? I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Actually, while we're on this topic, just different weights of paddles, I want to throw out a pet peeve of mine out there right now. Now, I know this isn't really something that a lot of people can control necessarily that much, but anytime you hand a paddle to almost anyone that's not their paddle, just take a guess. What's the first thing they say? Oh, this is really light.
yeah.
I could give them a brick of a paddle, and they'd be like, wow, this is really light. No, it's not. It's like 10 ounces.
It is really funny how often that happens. Like, I will know people's swing weight preferences and like what their paddle is that they are currently swinging. Give them one that is heavier in like every metric, and they're like, oh, this is like really light.
I'm not going to say who it was. Oh, a little voice crack there. I'm not going to say who it was, but at one of the PPAs we were at recently, there was a pro. I let them hit my paddle, and it's like an 8.8 ounce paddle, 128 swing weight. And I handed it to him, and they go, oh, you've got your paddle set up really light. And I was like, are you kidding me? I didn't say anything because I laughed inside. I was like, I'm sorry, but no.
It's not.
This is not a light paddle. The only ones who are good at knowing the weights and swing weights of paddles are people like us who test these things every day.
Also, I think, I guess like on a more like serious note, one thing that I think is really interesting is a lot of people, when they do that, right, they pick up a paddle and they just kind of like swing it around like in a room. Like maybe they do some like pretend ground strokes. I think that is like very different than actually playing with the paddle. Yes, of course, you're going to pick it up and you're going to get like a feel for it. But I find that a lot of times people will pick up paddles and say they feel light. And then when they actually go play games and they have to like do some flicks at the nets or some rolls, or they have to hold it for a while and do big ground strokes, then they start going, you know what, like actually it is kind of heavy. So sometimes like just picking up a paddle in a room and going like this, like unless you kind of do this as a job like us, and I'm not even going to claim I'm perfect. I feel like I'm pretty good. Usually,
you're pretty darn good.
If you hand me a paddle, I'm usually within 2 points of the swing weight. Usually, I think it's just one of those you got to play with it to really know. But it is very funny. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen it so many times,
dude. It is mind-boggling to me. Yeah. So I just had to throw that out there because that's something that's bothered me for a long time.
Yes,
we should also kind of start flying through these.
Hey, don't say it. You're gonna anger the people in the comments.
I didn't say it. I'm just saying.
Yes, I know. All right.
We take a little bit too much time on some of these questions that could be quick.
You know what? California loves it.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. Next question. Are you taking January off like last year? I don't think I'm going to take the whole month off. I think now that I've done this a couple times, I think
too long.
A month is just too long. Like what I've learned about myself is I need to work. Yeah. I don't need to work.
You love work.
I don't need to work every single day. A break is good for me. I appreciate the break, but I genuinely get to a point where I'm just bored.
Yeah.
And like the thing that is fun to me would be work. Like not even in a stressful way, just like I just need to feel like I'm doing something, like being useful. Like I can't just sit around and play video games. Like it's not fun for me.
Right.
I would be a terrible retired person. So anyways, yes, I'll probably take like a week or two off and then like maybe take it easy that month.
We somehow like accidentally booked vacations basically to the same spot, unknowingly to each other at the same time.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. We're both going to LA.
We'll probably
in January.
Yeah, I haven't booked mine yet, so it's not locked in stone, but it's probably pretty close.
I guess technically I haven't booked mine either, but I'm also pretty locked up going there. So I'm actually really excited because I'm heading to LA to go do some training with some pros, and then I believe I'm going to be going out there to also play the Masters after that.
We'll do a giveaway. One audience member gets you in the car for 4 days and they get live pods, so you can just talk for 2 hours in traffic and then I'll cover the other guy.
Who wants a live pod in the LA traffic?
The poor, I'm sorry for whoever wins that.
Wow, dang.
For me, I'm not saying you.
Oh, for you.
All right, let's move on here.
All right,
We'll go through some of these quicker. Thoughts on the Honolulu J6CR? Don't have one. I was offered the paddle. They said it was a pre-production. I've talked about this a million times. I don't like to talk about or hit pre-production models because when things change, it just ends up being more complicated for you, the viewer. So I don't like talking about them or hitting them. I don't really know anything about this paddle. When it's close to coming out, I'm sure we'll get one. But yeah, don't have one. And right now, if it changes, it just doesn't really actually help you.
Yeah.
Next up, thoughts on the Charm V versus Coral. Both seem all court appealing. I'd probably go Coral, personally, from what I've been seeing so far. I honestly think that the Coral is probably going to be one of the top all court options.
Sure.
Probably period, but particularly in foam.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be. I think it's just a non-polarizing, solid, all-around paddle. And someone else asked, I think later, is the Coral going to be the DBD successor? And pretty much
foam DBD.
Yeah,
I like the Coral quite a bit. I like the Coral for its performance, feedback, and how it plays.
Yeah.
But I much prefer the shape of
the Charm.
So it's a weird... Overall, I'd probably end up taking the Coral. But yeah, it's just the arrow curve head. I'm not a fan.
I think, they are different, and I think they offer you different things. But for me, when I played with the Charm, I talked a little about in my first impressions, the kind of the vibrations I was getting, and I didn't really... It was very obvious when you miss center. The Coral, to me, the sweet spot just feels a lot more neutral, where, maybe it's not the largest sweet spot ever, but it's I don't think you're really going to complain about it. You're not going to go, oh, wow, it's small.
Right.
So I just think that, and you throw in things like the Diamond Tough, and if that holds up, I think the Coral is going to be a very popular paddle for what it is. I think that might probably become the best all-court foam paddle.
Sure.
I won't be surprised. Let's see. Has anyone tried to bribe you for a good review? No one has tried to bribe me in hey, this was going to be a bad review. Does money change your mind? No one's done that. I think I've been in maybe a fortunate spot where, because of being in this for so long, I think people kind of have known, companies have known my stance for a very long time. This guy does not take money to do reviews, not going to be able to pay him. The only story I can really think of.
There's one that comes to my mind.
And I told this when I was on the Bread and Butter podcast, I talked about this.
Yep.
He really wanted or tried to offer me money to just do a review. He's like, I don't even care if you say bad things. It's just take the money. Why won't you take the money to do the review? And I was like, I just don't do that. It's not how I operate.
When he was telling that story, he was like, gosh, this kid's an idiot. Don't take money. Yeah, it's funny.
So, I just think no one started to bribe me because they
know it won't work.
It's just it's a dumb to even offer it. People know my stance on this stuff. So yeah, that's the only real story I can think of. Maybe I'm forgetting one, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yep.
Let's see. We're going to skip a couple of these. I wanted to tell this story. I was telling you this before the pod. I thought this was a funny story. Someone said, how did you choose Mia as your mixed partner? And this is a very funny cycle that happens in Minnesota. I would say every year, maybe every 2 years. It's the same thing every time.
Every 2 years.
Probably every 2 years more accurate. For whatever, and you guys tell me if this happens in your state, men, finding, especially as you get higher and higher in level, the pool of women to play mixed with shrinks real small.
Yes, real small.
And every guy is like, I'm going to snatch one of these up and I'm not letting go because the pool is very small. So I find that you have a couple options. Either you are really good at pickleball and the women want to play with you because you're really good at pickleball, not me. And then the other options are you get someone as they're coming up and you see the potential and you snag them early and, they improve quickly. For example, one of our friends, her name's Etta. A couple years ago, she comes into pickleball. You actually met her first. I remember you even telling me about it. Dude, her overhead's crazy. Came from badminton. She's really good at pickleball. And
super tall.
Very tall. So you started playing with her early. I mean, everyone was talking about Etta when she showed up. Everyone's like, dude, this chick is
She's
really
like a
good.
4-0.
Yeah. And you started playing tournaments with her. You guys won a couple tournaments. Like, she played great. And so it was one of those ones. You saw the potential, lock it down.
Snatch them up.
And then eventually I played some tournaments with her. We ended up winning US Open. A lot of fun. But every single time, it's like the cycle keeps continuing. There's a new woman that pops up, maybe has like some other sport background, tennis, whatever, and everyone's like, ooh, she's really good at pickleball. There's a lot of potential over there.
Do you want to invest the time?
Do you want to invest the time? And this is pretty much what happened with Mia. I actually think my wife mentioned her to me first, like a year and a half ago. My wife played a tournament against Mia, 3-5. It was like right when Mia started playing pickleball. And I'm pretty sure Sarah was like, yeah, this girl's like really good at pickleball. She was just like, oh, she's really nice. It was fun talking to her. I didn't really think much of it because it was like, it's a 3-5 tournament, whatever. And then just over time, like I think I started seeing Mia at more and more tournaments. And I was like, who is this? I was like, this person's really good at pickleball. Like you could tell like maybe there were some gaps, but there are people you can just look at them and you can just tell they have potential.
Sure.
Mia is definitely one of those people. And so eventually there's just like enough tournaments went by. I played against Mia in a tournament and I was like, jeez, this person's really good. And so I had stopped playing. Etta wasn't playing tournaments as much. And so I was kind of on the hunt for a mixed partner. And I just reached out. I was like, you know what? Let's just see what happens. Honestly, I thought I was going to get told no because the way Mia's stock was going up, it was kind of one of those like, well, you could probably pick any guy you want. And so I asked and she said yes. But that's kind of how the cycle in Minnesota goes.
Yeah. I feel like that's just how it is for mixed partners in pickleball in general.
Yeah.
So
I'd say it's pretty accurate. So that's kind of how Minnesota mixed goes. But definitely lucky to have figured that out.
Right.
Okay. So we're okay. Let's see. You got to be back. Okay.
Oh yeah.
We'll do a couple more.
Yeah, we'll
do a couple more. Okay. What are the best angles to film gameplay from? Personally, I think the best overall angle, there's one of two options. Either you have a really high angle from the back of the court. Like
it all depends on the spacing you have.
Yes.
You have big courts, you have much more options.
Yes. Big court, got a lot of options. Small court, limited options. Generally speaking, if you don't have a super tall tripod, we're talking maybe it goes up to your chest or your neck. I would say put it in a corner.
Yeah.
I think the corner is the best because it can see the whole court. You're at an angle, so you can kind of see how dinks are moving in video. The problem is when you go straight behind and it's low, is that a lot of times people are lined up. So when someone on the other side goes to hit a counter, let's say that's you can't really see it because the person closest to the camera is blocking you.
Yeah.
At an angle, you can see most everything.
Well, and if it's low, even if you have the space behind to get the baseline, you like have to tilt it down and you're not going to be able to see as much height
Yes.
on the back of the court. And so, yeah, if you're going to go straight behind, you just need to have a lot of height.
And I'm talking 6.5, 7 feet high is like good from the back of the court.
Yeah, usually when we film here, when I'm setting up camera as a baseline cam, it's usually a good 6 inches above my head, and I'm 6'2".
Yeah. So otherwise, I would just say corner of the court works great. You can see most everything.
Yep.
If someone is coming from a Pro 4, what's the first foam paddle to try? Obviously, you probably just saw the answers I had listed there. I was going to ask you to do it without seeing that. But
I mean, I saw a couple, but knowing a Pro 4, I'd probably say something without fiberglass, something a bit softer. Honestly, the one that comes to my mind is probably not a paddle I'd typically recommend for people to buy, which is the Cypic Avatar, because the Avatar is one of the more like denser feeling paddles without having excessive amounts of poppiness. So it doesn't have fiberglass in it, so it's not pretty stiff like a loco. But it also isn't like an Inferno where it's like really springy and loose feeling.
See, it's interesting because some of my options, an Inferno probably would have been like, I need to hit it more. I don't have nearly as much time as you on it.
So springy.
It's definitely
like
very springy.
Loose.
But I feel like, like broken in Pro 4s, like I feel like often usually feel a little springier. And also what's interesting is like
close to that.
Maybe not close to an Inferno, but I feel like they loosen up and become springier. And also what's interesting is the feel of a Pro 4 is quite a bit stiffer than what I'd expect for all carbon fiber. Like comparing the RPM, which feels softer, I'm always surprised like how stiff a Pro 4 feels.
Sure.
So like my top options in here were going to be Boomstick, which that's going to be different. Look, I'm not saying that's going to be the same, but there are foam paddles that like a Waves, not even close to a Pro 4. My top options would have been Boomstick, Quanta with weight, V-Sol, and Loco.
V-Sol is probably also would be a top option for me.
Yeah.
I'd probably say Avatar and V-Sol. The Avatar has been, in my opinion, the more I play with it, the more and more I like it.
Which is interesting because what was it you did? Was it just the handle you didn't like?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't the performance.
Yeah, it was kind of tweaking, fixing the handle. But yeah, the more I use it, the more I enjoy it.
Okay.
So the Avatar is a good one.
Which is interesting because I kind of put, for me, the Avatar is like in the same spot as the Peacock. Where not performance, it's just that you're paying way more money than you need to.
Oh
for
yeah,
that paddle.
that's why I said it wouldn't be something I typically recommend.
Yeah, like it's overpriced without a doubt, but it performs fine.
Overpriced, weird to deal with warranties if you need to. Just a lot of odd, things about it.
Yep.
Quirks about it, but good paddle.
No. All right, last question here.
Yep.
Do all foam paddles get slightly softer when they break in? Any long-term changes that you've noticed in foam? So what's very interesting about this, I have absolutely seen reports online from various people who say, you know what, I've had a Boomstick for a while, I've had a Quanta, I've had a Genesis, and they're not as springy, they're not as poppy as it used to be. And I haven't experienced this firsthand. I would absolutely say, just like all materials, it's foam. You're going to smack the crap out of the same spot over and over. Yeah, it's probably going to get fatigued, and it's probably not going to have the same spring that it once did, right? All materials wear down, and they're going to break. But I used a Genesis for 6+ months, like the same one, basically. And when I finally went to a brand new one, I literally set up a brand new one, the exact same, and I took it to the tournament the very next day.
Yeah.
Not different. Right. And I played just fine with it in that tournament. I don't know if I just don't hit hard enough, but like 6 months is a good amount of time on a paddle. And same thing with my Loco. Like, beat that thing up pretty good. I have a brand new one now. Feels the exact same to me. Maybe it's not being hit long enough. But my experience has been no. But I've heard people online say that they experience it.
I would say I've noticed significantly less change in foam paddles than honeycomb.
Sure.
I mean, I feel like that's fairly common knowledge at this point, but all I've been hitting for the last 3 months, especially tournaments, has only been foam paddles, and I've noticed much less change. So for that's one of the big reasons why I prefer foam paddles.
And I think maybe one of the interesting differences, I'm speculating a little bit here, but I think people have gotten so used to Gen 2 and Gen 3 paddles, they get hotter as you use them, which can be a nice benefit. Usually there's a sweet spot, right? In the break-in period, we're like, ooh, this is really nice, but it's not too hot. And maybe people have gotten used to that, and now that we're kind of going back to how a Gen 1 paddle was, where maybe it gets a little bit more dead over time, people's expectation is like, okay, so when it's new, I get elite performance, and as I use it more, it starts to go down, whereas like Gen 3s, it's like, okay, you know what, it's not optimal right away, but it does start to get nice later on. So I wonder if it's like an expectation thing.
That's the thing that we've just always hated, and I hate so much, where people are like, oh, you just gotta break it in. You gotta let it loosen up, break it in. No, it's breaking, not breaking in. It's just breaking. Okay, guys? Like, sorry, it's broken.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that. That's like, I'm so against it. Like, oh, you'll like it when it's broken in. It's probably you like it because yours is broken.
Yeah, right. There are definitely, I think I am personally, I really like that foam paddles for the most part have gotten to the point where as they get used more, it's how equipment should be. It should get more dead.
Yeah.
Because the ones that heat up and go to illegal and people show up at tournaments with core crush, no one wants to play against that.
The only time we've noticed maybe not even significant change in performance when playing, but a just difference, particularly in sound, is when playing with foam paddles in the heat.
Yes.
When we were in Florida, all our locos and foam paddles sounded way louder.
Yeah.
They get louder, and it's natural. Like, the heat is going to make these materials are pretty soft. Yeah. They're going to expand, and they're going to loosen up a little bit, and they're going to get softer. So they're going to sound and potentially play a little bit different. And we've talked about in the pod before, we highly recommend not just letting your paddle bake in the sun and sit in the sun, because that can damage or even break your paddle.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to sit in some pretty hot sun, but like, yeah, I definitely in Florida noticed my loco was different.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, even my men's partner, he was playing with an 11.624 Alpha Pro Power. And I didn't say anything about my paddle, but he just came to me and was like, dude, my paddle like sounds different. It feels like it's playing a little different. So heat will definitely impact things. But
I guess now that it's winter, we can test leaving foam paddles in the cold.
Yeah, I'm sure they feel different when they're hard as a rock.
I might have to leave some in my car and try that.
Yeah. So, okay. Anyways, guys, that was a lot of questions and answers there. Hope you guys enjoyed that podcast episode. We need a word of the week. What's our word of the week?
Gosh, we're so bad about this.
I was trying to think of one before. Man, I'm looking through the notes here.
I know. I'm trying to find something.
Let's go. Man, I feel like I'm just about to make up a word.
Make it marathon.
Sure, marathon. Marathon's the word. You know, that works. Marathon's the word.
All right.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We appreciate you tuning in, and really excited to get through some paddle awards this year. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So, all right, we'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.